Imagine for a moment that you are holding a beautiful gold ring in your hand. It is smooth and heavy and it shines with a warm yellow light. When we look at gold, we see wealth and we see love and we see something that lasts forever. But what if that small piece of metal carried a secret story that started thousands of miles away in the deep green heart of a rainforest? What if the shine of that ring was actually connected to a silent poison moving through the water and the air of the most beautiful places on Earth? We often think of our things as being separate from the world around us. We buy a product and we do not think about the ground it came from or the hands that touched it. But everything is connected in ways we cannot always see. To understand the true cost of our world, we have to look past the surface of the gold and see the shadow it leaves behind in the forest. This is a story about a hidden process that is changing our planet from the inside out, and it starts with a very old and very simple substance called mercury. Mercury is a strange metal that looks like liquid silver. In the middle of the tropical rainforest, people use this liquid to find gold in the sand of the riverbeds. They call this artisanal mining, but do not let that word fool you. It sounds like someone making a handmade bowl or a painting, but it is actually a very rough and dangerous way of working. These miners use mercury because it is an easy and cheap tool. The mercury grabs onto the tiny bits of gold and creates a mixture. Then the miners use fire to burn that mixture away. The mercury turns into a gas and floats into the sky while the gold stays behind. It seems like a simple trick, but the consequences are massive. This is currently the biggest source of mercury pollution caused by humans on the entire planet. We are talking about over 1,000 tons of this poison entering our environment every single year. When the mercury enters the air, it does not stay in one place. It travels with the wind. It moves across oceans and continents. This is why we find high levels of mercury in whales living in the cold waters of the Arctic, even though there are no gold mines there. The poison of the rainforest becomes the poison of the sea. Back in the Amazon, this process turns lush green forests into gray deserts. You can see huge areas of land that look like the surface of the moon, with no trees and no animals and only strange artificial lakes filled with toxic mud. There is a hidden assumption in our modern world that nature is a resource we can just take from without any limit. We assume that if we take gold from the earth will simply heal itself. We also assume that if we are far away from the forest, we are safe from the damage. This is a very dangerous way of thinking. Mercury is an element, which means it cannot be destroyed. Once it is in the world, it stays in the world. It is a silent toxin because it does not make you sick immediately. It hides in the body for years before the symptoms show up. It attacks the brain and the nervous system. It can cause headaches and memory loss and trouble sleeping. Most sadly, it can harm unborn babies, leading to learning disabilities that last a lifetime. In the past, people in places like Japan died because they did not know the fish they were eating was full of mercury. Today, the indigenous people of the Amazon are facing the same invisible threat. Their main source of food is fish from the rivers, but those rivers are being poisoned by the search for gold. They are being told that the food they have eaten for generations is now a danger to their health. This creates a deep and painful conflict between their traditional way of life and the reality of modern pollution. When we look at the structural pattern of this problem, we see that it is driven by a lack of information and a lack of choice. The miners often do not realize they are poisoning themselves and their families. They have been working this way for decades, and because they do not feel sick today, they think they are fine. They are driven by a need for money, and gold is the only way they know to survive. On the other side, the consumers in big cities do not know where their gold comes from. There is no easy way to track a piece of gold back to the specific mine in the rainforest. This lack of transparency creates a gap where destruction can happen in secret. The pattern is one of global demand meeting local desperation. We need to reframe our perspective on what is actually valuable. We have been taught for thousands of years that gold is the ultimate treasure. But you cannot breathe gold and you cannot drink gold. The rainforest is actually doing much more for us than a gold mine ever could. The forest produces the air we breathe, and it helps create the water we drink. It keeps our planet cool, and it houses millions of species that we are only beginning to understand. If we start to see the forest as more valuable than the metal beneath it, we can begin to change our behavior. This is not just about saving a few trees in a faraway place. It is about protecting the health of the entire planet. We have one health and one world. If the animals are sick and the water is poisoned, the humans will eventually be sick too. We must move toward a more responsible way of living where we care about the impact of our choices. In our daily lives, we can apply this by asking more questions about the things we buy. Whether it is jewelry or electronics, we can demand to know if the materials were sourced in a way that respects the earth and the people who live on it. Information is a form of power. When we know the truth, we can make better decisions. We can support systems that track gold and ensure it is mercury-free. We can also share this knowledge with others, because the more people who care, the more the industry will be forced to change. It is about moving from being a passive consumer to being an active protector of the world. Change happens when we realize that our small actions are part of a much larger web of life. Imagine a future where the people of the Amazon can eat the fish from their rivers without fear. Imagine a future where the forest stays green and full of life instead of being turned into a toxic desert. This is possible if we choose to value life over luxury. We have the science and the tools to make this happen, but we need the will to use them. We need to listen to the experts who are working in the middle of the jungle to study these toxins and talk to the miners. They are building a bridge between science and the community. By supporting this work and changing our own habits, we can help stop the flow of mercury into our world. We have to remember that the silent poison does not have to be our future. We can choose a different path that honors the forest and the people who call it home. It is a long journey, but every step toward awareness is a step toward healing. When we look at that gold ring again, we should see not just the shine but the responsibility that comes with it. We are the guardians of this planet, and it is time we started acting like it. If you had to choose between all the gold in the world and the ability to breathe clean air for the rest of your life, which one would you truly consider to be more precious?